What was life like for Jeanie Buss in 2020? You were in the bubble, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to kind of go back to how that season started. So back to, the off season of, 2019, we made the trade to get Anthony Davis.
Yeah. Big trade.
So now we have this new player that comes in. The NBA, every couple years you're required to go play overseas. And, that's happening in every sports league that you have to go overseas. So that year, October of 2019, we were scheduled to be in China. So,
the logistics for that as an owner.
It's awful. I mean, that's it's a big burden to put on a team.
You got to bring like 600 people.
And so now we are flying over to China, the team. I stayed in LA, but our GM, bunch of executives are with the team. And a tweet comes out from another executive in our league that talks about freeing Hong Kong from, the rule of,
Political shit.
Yes. And it didn't sit well.
Did not.
And so as the team's flying over there, they land. And now the decision has been made by the Chinese government that they are no longer going to televise the games that we've flown all the way over there. They did allow us to televise them back to our country, but that's the whole reason you go, is to celebrate, the NBA in China. And now they took down. There was no mention of the games. They still allowed us to play the games. They even thought about not allowing fans to attend the games. So it was very intense because our players they didn't understand what was going on, because there was literally, they watched them take down all the banners of the players, the advertisements. It was intense. And, thankfully they got back safely. But during that time, Anthony Davis got injured his thumb. And, so the season didn't get off to the right start. Once we got back home, the team did start to gel, and, we were doing really well. And for me personally, in December of 2019, my mother passed away, and very suddenly. And I remember them calling me and saying, because she was in assisted living, and they said, we're going to transport your mom to the hospital because she's having trouble breathing. And she went so quickly, I couldn't even get there in time. And it makes me think that might have been the beginning of COVID, right? Because they talked about how people all of a sudden they can't breathe, and then they pass like that. And so that was, hard on me. Then a couple weeks later, David Stern passed away.
Yeah.
And then a couple weeks later, Kobe and Gigi passed away. So this all happened in the matter of December and January. And it was just really difficult to process all of what happened. When Kobe passed, we asked the league if we could, we had a game the next day against the Clippers, and our organization was in such shock, we couldn't function, and we had to bring in grief counselors. What I can't get over was how our fans, they didn't know where to go. And so they just went to the arena because everybody needed to be together.
Yeah.
And it was like we were lost. It was so hard to comprehend this loss. And, it's still hard to accept 5 years later, but, it just really struck me how important the team, we started this whole conversation about community and what a team means to the fans. And it showed me this is like our strength. This is what brings everybody together, is under the purple and gold umbrella, and how they process the good times when we're winning, but also process the devastating news. And, the Clippers were very nice and agreed to postpone the game. But then we eventually had to get back to basketball. So we played January 31st, and LeBron addressed the crowd, and he gave such a moving speech about how we have to lift each other up, and that through the game of basketball is how we cope with our grief. And that he said, I have big shoulders. Let me carry you. Let me, climb on board. Like, we're going to get through this together. And, that just made me realize his ability as a leader, and for him to articulate all of what we were feeling and what we needed to hear was beautiful. And, so we get back to basketball. We're doing really well. We won 9 of the next 10 games, and, we're looking great. And then at the beginning of March, you're hearing stuff about COVID now, and kind of what's happening. And when you are in a business where you interface with the public, that you bring people together, we were monitoring it very closely. But then there was, a famous press conference with Rudy Gobert where he kind of challenged COVID to come get him. And sure enough, the next day, the league shut down. And at first, it was going to be like for a week, until we figure this out.
That's what everyone thought.
Yeah. And then it became 2 weeks. Then it became, it was like, are we ever going to finish this season? And as time went on, the isolation was unbearable because we were dealing with the loss of Kobe and Gigi. And I remember I would wake up and I'd been crying in my sleep. I didn't even know that was physically possible.
Yeah.
But it was just so, the sadness was so overbearing, and the idea that we couldn't come together as a community was like the total opposite. We had to isolate and be disconnected. And then, of course, Zooms, and, thankfully that gave you a little bit of comfort to see other people and talk about how you were feeling, and, the last dance, and just things that, sports could, soothe you, take you out of your head. So then the league came up with the idea of salvaging the season by creating this bubble.
Much needed idea.
It really was brilliant, but it was a huge sacrifice because now you're taking everybody away from their families, and they have to commit to being, we were in the bubble for like 90 days. Like, that's months and months. And that's a huge sacrifice that the players had to make. And they were able to figure out, okay, we'll take the 22 teams out of 30 that look like they were going to make the playoffs, and then we'll create this schedule. And, it was something.
Yeah.
And, the players union agreed to it, and we took off for Orlando. And so, they get that going, because now when they get to Orlando, they've got to sequester for 2 weeks before they can all come together. I mean, it was so
quarantine.
Complicated how they did it, but it was the only way to make sure that you would have a pristine, area that would not get infected. And so they started playing and doing all of that. And then there was a police shooting in Wisconsin of a person by the name of Jacob Blake. And it was again another, you know, seemingly, you know, police shooting for no reason, for, you know, and everything stopped again. The players wanted to decide if they wanted to continue to play or not. And mind you, they're worried about their families back home. And this was exactly the kind of things that they were worried about. And so the bubble was fragile, and the players asked to meet with all the governors on a Zoom call. And, you know, it was a conversation that needed to be had in order for the players to feel that we were partners with them in, you know, wanting things to change. And, you know, the players agreed to resume playing again. So after another 4-day break, we came back and played the games, and the Lakers were playing great. And the playoffs started, and I kept saying, well, I'll come to the bubble if it looks like we, you know, might go far in the playoffs. So eventually I joined the team in Orlando, and we kept winning.
Yeah.
And we found ourselves in the championship against the Miami Heat with Jimmy Butler, and of course my idol, Pat Riley.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had mixed feelings about having to go against Pat because, you know, he's
kind of like family.
Like family, right?
Now, the atmosphere inside when they had like the fans and the fake fans, and you know what I mean? How was that? Had to be almost like a practice.
It was bizarre.
Because when we were playing our games, we played in empty stadiums. And I remember playing in Seattle, and it reminded me of high school football when you were scrimmaging against another team, because you could hear we could hear them making their calls. You know, you could hear their coaches on the sideline. You could never hear any of that. It was just like all you heard was like the love of the game, which there was something special about that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, was it like that for basketball? All you hear is just
yes.
That's all you hear because there's no surrounding noise.
Yep.
So you guys have it in the bag. You have your second best outfit.
Yeah.
Did you have something prepared for afterwards to say to the team?
Yeah, I had my speech, and, you know, written out, and
That's your Super Bowl.
yeah. So like it was really important to me to get that right, because that's what the governor does. And if you notice in my speech, you know, I talk about the fans and how it was really for them, and that we were going to bring the trophy back to LA where it belongs. And so now I'm done with my speech, and normally the commissioner would hand you the trophy, right? But we were like, everybody was like 8 feet apart. So, you know, that part didn't happen. And I didn't want to walk over and pick up the trophy myself. And so I said to the players, that's your trophy. You pick it up. Like, I'm not going to hand it to you. Like, I don't need the photo of me holding the trophy. So like, if you notice, I never hold the trophy. I walk over to the team, and LeBron comes over and hugs me and whispers in my ear, I told you we would do this. This, you know, this was our goal, and we did it. Like, enjoy this moment. And that was really, you know, he's done it a few times.
Yeah,
so he
yeah.
had better practice at it than I did.
It's something different though when you're a Laker. I mean, it's the Lakers.
Yeah.
There's the Celtics, Lakers. That's basketball.
Yeah. So now, like, we win 17. Now we're tied with Boston
Tied.
in terms of championships, but then they went and won number 18 before we did. So
We'll get
now
there.
gotta
You
win
guys,
two more.
it'll get there. So the clock hits 0.
Lakers win 106-93.
Clock hits 0. First thing you think about?
do I go over and give Pat Riley a hug?
Oh.
You know, and I didn't. I mean, I felt bad. I didn't. You know, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to lose. Yeah.
You talked about it, about sport being so much about relationship.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the relationship that you've had with Pat Riley and the success that you guys, those memories to see after the game, in between the lines during the game, everyone, we want to kill you. But the aftermath, like that's when you appreciate your competitor and that real human side comes where you're like, oh, man. But it was, you know, did you hug him?
No, I did not hug him, and I felt bad, but
it was still kind of weird to hug people then.
Yeah, yes. We were all still wearing masks until we got down.
I was just thinking about when you talk about LeBron hugging you, I was like, man, people probably got so scared about that during COVID, like people touching.
But just recently, I had the wonderful opportunity to be on a Zoom call with a bunch of our former Showtime players and surprise Pat Riley with the announcement our next statue is going to be Pat Riley that we're going to have at Crypto.
Let's
Arena.
go.
Yeah, so we're in good, you know, our relationship is still great.
That statue garden, by the way,
is cool, right?
I mean, that thing is awesome.
Yeah.
What's the threshold to getting a statue?
There really isn't yet, but like Pat Riley, you know, just, you know,
slick, but you gotta have,
it's like
Pat.
So cool. Yeah, people want to see it.
Let's put a bow on this game.
So, as we mentioned, the Lakers won their 17th NBA championship. This is the 11th for the Buss family and first for Jeanie as controller, as governor. And the Celtics have won 5 since the Buss took over. So everyone likes to do Celtics, Lakers, but 5-11. Let's go.
He's from Boston too.
Yeah, but I'm a hockey guy. You don't want to hear what I think.
Okay. Thank you.
And this was the longest season of NBA history, 377 days.
Much needed, though. We needed this. Because there was no entertainment. Everyone was so bored out of all the same streaming stuff. That's what's awesome about sport. Brings people together.
There's only so much Tiger King you can watch. LeBron James won Finals MVP and got his 4th ring and moved to first in career playoff games with 260. The Lakers and the Dodgers both won a championship this year. And then in 2024, LA hired JJ Redick as head coach.
That's the aftermath.
And so I was the first female governor to win a championship.
Let's freaking go.
And my first thought was, who's going to be the next? Who's going to be the next? I mean, it's
her first thought, who's going to be the next? And you're also the first female and first owner in general to win the in-season tournament ever.
Yeah.
That'll go down.
Thank you. That was cool, too.
Let's score this game. So the last thing before everything, we score the game, and we see where it stands on all the games that we've done, because the reason for this show is to determine what's the greatest game of all time. Let's name the game. The Banner 17 game. These are some that we came up with. If you have a name that you want to name the game, you can name it as well. South Beach versus Sunset. The Bubble Banner. Bubblicious. Ballin' in the Bubble. La Bubble Championship. Or anyone that you have that comes up to your mind.
It's like Banner 17. Like
Banner 17.
We still like call it that.
Banner 17. Yeah. Let's score the game. Is this the greatest game of all time? Let's score it. Stakes, Jeanie. 0 to 10. Decimals okay. Stakes of this game 6 game to cap off the championship. The stakes of this
I would say it's a 9.
9.
Yeah.
I'd say like 9-2. Because this was like a needed thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just saying, for like the world. Mm-hmm. This like basketball was like the only thing we had going.
Yeah.
Only thing we had, and fighting.
Yeah.
You know?
Jack had an 8.1. I had an 8.0.
Star power of this 0 to 10 decimals. Okay.
9.5.
9.5. I'm gonna go with an 8.8 because they didn't have the fans and the star power of the Lakers. Does Jack Nicholson have to pay for his courtside seats?
No.
What's a fun Jack story? There's got to be one fun Jack story.
Well, let's put it this way. There's a reason we have him sitting next to the visiting bench, because they just never know if he's going to be the Jack from The Shining. He's a little
Here's
intimidating.
Johnny.
Exactly.
Awesome. Gameplay of the
Jack
game.
got an 8.7 out of 7.8. Gameplay.
0 to 10 decimals. Okay.
I would say an 8.
It's an integrity type score because it was blowing out, then they came back. I'm going to go 7.2.
Jack had a 6.5 out of 6.1.
And then lastly, we grade the name of the game. Banner 17.
10.
10.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with a 9. Because we all know what it, like the cultural relevance, everyone knows Banner 17.
Jack had an 8.5. I had a 6.3.
What's it come up to?
An 8.17.
Where does it stand on the list?
That puts us right here, 26th, just below the Shrug Game, 1992 NBA Finals, Game 1, Blazers versus Bulls, and just above the Millennium Wave
with Larry
with
Hamilton. You remember the Millennium Wave?
No.
It was on Time Magazine.
You mean just the wave that he was riding?
Yeah, it was like the biggest.
Yeah. Oh my God.
The heaviest wave
It was
of
the
all
heaviest
time.
wave of all time.
Yeah, that's
you know
great.
Laird, probably.
Oh
He's
yeah,
in LA.
I do. Yeah, I do. And that, I love that. Then is that what? Like, who came up with that name? Did you guys come up with that
The
name?
Millennium Wave?
Yeah.
I think Time did.
We wanted him on the show because he's awesome.
No, he's amazing. So, did you give him other suggestions?
We did.
We Googled some stuff, and because he's not a competitive surfer, he's like against the ocean. We like looked up, and then we found this thing like the Millennium Wave, and we looked into it. And it was like in 2000, he rode this crazy wave that was like the heaviest wave.
So
of
we
all
broke
time.
down the wave when we were breaking down the game.
Yeah.
And then we broke down the surfer of Laird and his resume of the other waves that he surfed. But this wave is taking lives.
Yeah.
Can I find this list somewhere?
Yes.
I got to go through this.
It's brand new. We can send it to you, but it's actually
yeah,
now
send
live.
it to me. I mean, honestly, this is amazing.